I don't want. Yeah. Does it sound bad? Oh my god. I need to just stop thinking. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that was kind of that was kind of my thought too. It's like, but let me tell you, Opus. It was all the time. It was all the time that they were sharing that. Yeah. And I never wanted to like say no to like I don't know. I got sort of that attitude when I was a kid, and that really kind of messed me up for a while. So yeah. Well, Opus, I'm happy. I do. Yeah. 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 Well, I think a lot of young people are very obsessed with that particular thing. Oh, okay, Didge. Yeah. I mean, it's weird, right? It's weird. I don't know. I'm creeped out by it in retrospect. But I guess I have to talk about it, or it's gonna just eat me alive. I guess I have to talk about it, or it just would eat me alive. So how's being 20? Sorry for unloading that on you. I really am. It's. Are you still here? You'd still be here. Yeah. No problem. I don't know. I just it was weird, and I feel weird about it, and I would never do. I don't know. It's never happened again. I'm never gonna do. Yeah. Oh my god. Holy shit! Does it get me bad? You have no idea how bad it can get me. What you don't do you do you have do you have a tended listen, my paranoia makes me self sabotage a lot. Like a whole heck of a lot. Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, it all if I could be honest with you, it all stems from me not wanting to hurt people. Which is a weird thing, but it's like I think about I the thing that really gets me is like I'm so scared of like I'll do something and then like it'll hurt the people in my life, you know? And I'm like I can yeah. Yeah. Are you scared of that? Yeah. Like I have this like recurring fear that I'll do something and that it'll not only hurt me, which would be terrible, but which I wouldn't enjoy, but it would also hurt everybody in my life, which would be like the worst thing imaginable. You know? And because yeah. And because of Twitch, you guys are starting to get absorbed into those fears. So Like, oh, but I've told you you're one of my favorites, right? And yeah, yeah. I've told you you're one of my favorites, right? Yeah, and it's just like I have this. I don't know. It's part of part of this whole thing is like I've never met this, but I worry about all of you guys so much. It's it can become quite intense. Not intense. That's the right word. But I do worry about everybody quite a lot, and especially like the regulars on here. I'm always nervous for. Um, I've I've stayed up late at night worried about friends I have because I'm just like I don't know. It's like I don't know what they. It's just right now. Like one of my big paranoia is like I have this friend in Los Angeles, and she is I don't know. She seems so lost, and I'm nervous for her. And Opus, I'm very happy for you. I'm happy the fact that you seem to be you're starting to thrive, and I see that as so good. And this Twitch thing really did start out as I don't know. It's my most permanent like social connection to everybody. It almost got me a job. It's the thing that's had the biggest effect in my life in a lot of ways. And for all that's yeah. Yeah. No, but I mean, you got. I know the manga's a little bit on hold right now, but you're starting. I see the way you talk. I see the things you're doing. You're starting to get out there, Opus, and I'm really proud of you for that. And I'm proud of you that you seem to have gone through quite a lot in your life, in a very young life that you should not have gone through, and you're coming out, and I know it doesn't seem like it, but I remember talking to you like a year ago, and you are in such a better place than you were. You really are. And I mean that very legitimately. I mean that you're like in such a better place. Just the stuff you talk about doing, the stuff the friends you've made, you seem like in such a better place. And maybe I'm wrong, but I'm happy that at least something is happening. Yeah. And that's why I was so happy when you said you were doing the manga Opus, because you seemed to want to do a lot of this stuff, but you were struggling to do it. And then you said you were working on manga uh, with Aqua, and I was really happy to hear that. Yeah, because I know what the creative mind is like, Opus, and I know the creative mind really struggles when it isn't being creative. Like and you had been struggling with that for a while, and I was really happy to hear that you were like it seemed to start to work again for you, and I that's always a good sign. Like I have these friends in Los Angeles, and they seem so sad, and it's because they're just constantly they want to be creative, they want to do creative things, yet they just don't. And I get not being creative all the time and not having the energy to be creative, but it's just like they feel stuck, and it's so shitty. It's so shitty how stuck everybody feels, and I'm just happy that people are just. I worry about that kid a lot. I'm, anyways, so I care about you guys. I really do. Well, I care about. Yeah, I care. I well, I like everybody, but not all. That's mean to say, but it's yeah. I don't want to encourage like what is it? What's that thing that everybody talks about on YouTube? When like creators like pretend to be friends. It's both ways, I know. But what's the thing they talk about on YouTube all the time where like creators try and like but one of the things is they try and like pretend they're your friend even though they have no idea who they are. No, it's not shipping. It's this thing. Parasocial relationships. Parasocial relationships are where, like you as a fan have intense like feelings and connections to a person, and they don't know you. And I don't know. Twitch doesn't work that way, just because like on Twitch you have to get to know, especially on the level we're at, we have to get to know each other. Because like that's all we're doing is just talking with each other. But there is definitely an element that like just because I talk to somebody for a while on the stream, it doesn't necessarily mean we're friends. I think. So I always compare it to like if you have like a job and you're friendly with people at work, but you're not necessarily friendly with people outside of work. Like sometimes people contact me. People have contacted me before, and I am not super thrilled with it off stream. You know what I mean? Especially if they want to like chat at me for hours about like their stuff, and I'm like, I don't know. It's like I tend to not like that. You can contact me. Oh, this is weird. Damn it. I feel like I'm being weird here. I'm also emotional. I also had a little bit of some alcohol at lunch, so I'm being a little bit more open than I usually am. No, but I don't know. Some people, I feel I don't know. There are some people who really want to. We weren't super friends, and they would contact me after, and I would feel very creeped out. I don't know. It's just like I have a sort of informal rules. I don't really answer a lot of people's Discord messages off stream. Like somebody once contacted me, and they had like sent me 20 messages like, "Well, where are you? Where are you?" And I had been asleep, and I was like Opus, I was asleep. I didn't even realize they wanted to contact me. I'm like, and it's fine. It's fine. I don't know if they may pop by later, but I'm like. Wasn't the hugest fan of that. Not that I'm particularly angry. Anyways. But that kind of is an example of parasocial relationships on Twitch, Where it's like. You're friendly with somebody, and then you spill like you spill your guts to them the second you log off, and I'm like, this is not where that relationship was going. We are not at that. Like, okay, imagine if you had just met somebody in like an hour, and you're like friendly, and you like say, okay, well, I'll give you my phone number or something. And then, like, an hour later, they're telling you, like, this intense story about, like, they're, like, how they were, They almost, like they send you like 30 texts, like emotionally dumping on you. I'm like, we're not at that point yet in our lives. How's Blondie, by the way? Speaking of that, how is your paramour? How's the paramour going? Sorry, I'm in a mood tonight. Oh no. You know what I find? Oh, if I could tell me what happened. Tell me what happened. What happened? Because there's no intimidation here. Yeah, it's like, is this your like? Was he like your first crush or like your? Anyways, you know what I find, Opus. You know what I find? I find people are much more forgiving than you think they are. Oh, darn. Well, that's a big question. But yeah. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I don't know. It was a big question for me. Because it's essentially like, have you figured out what you're going to do with the rest of your life? And oh, no worries. It's fine. Because, like, for me, it was like, I had no fucking idea what I wanted my major to be. I hadn't picked it. I was, like, totally lost. And it's like, and everybody asks you that question all the time when you're going to college. Like, that's the only thing people will talk to you about is what your major's going to be. No worries. No worries. Also, but the more probable thing is he just hasn't seen it yet. What do you think of her, by the way? I think she turned out pretty good, personally. Well, thank you. I'm quite proud of her. I had this idea. Thanks. Yeah. I had this idea for a short film, possibly. Or maybe a long movie. No, let's just try and aim for short. About, so basically she's probably what the protagonist would look like, maybe. Maybe I'll make this a comic. So the premise is, it's about a reverse werewolf girl. She's a reverse werewolf. Instead of a human, instead of being bit by a wolf and turning, it's about a wolf that turns into a wolf were. Yeah, I actually make that joke in the script, or in if you notice, there was a premise very similar to that in an article I wrote for my newsletter, which I think, yeah. So she's a wolf that turns into a human, And I kind of thought that would be a fun idea for a short film. I don't think I don't think we've had a reverse werewolf. I was trying to look for examples of the reverse werewolf in fiction. But that's a fun idea, right? Well, and also, I'm a periodic cheapskate, so I like the idea that it's cheap. It would be cheap to film. Because you know what the most expensive monster is? It's the werewolf. Werewolves cost a lot of money to do right. It's hard to do. It's hard to, and if you do it wrong, it looks bad. But if you do a reverse werewolf, doesn't look so bad. I just want to say to the people in my life how much I care for them. I've been thinking a lot since my father passed away. And it's like, in the end, I think all that really matters is just the people in your life. Like, the people that made your life worth living. And I just want people to know that. I just want people in my life to know that. Anyways. Have you ever heard of the reverse werewolf? I was legit trying to find examples of it. I saw it as a joke on a few like internet things, but I didn't see it as like. Well, one of my favorite, I guess Fable technically has one. Or one of my favorite comics ever, Fable. Kate Daniels. I've not heard of that. Oh, a hyena were? That's fun. I had an idea once. Yeah. I had an idea once if I could for a D&D character that I want to. If you ever run a D&D game, by the way, I want to play. I have an idea for a character I've been wanting to play forever. They're a half. So the character is a half minotaur, half mermaid. Their father was a minotaur and their mother was a mermaid. So that means they're just human. They inherited only the human halves. don't know. You can take classes on that. Why? Are you thinking of getting into bookbinding? I mean, it's a whole skill, pretty much. When I was on TikTok before I quit, there was I followed a guy who was a book historian, and he talked about a lot about like the history of bookbinding and stuff, which was quite fascinating. Like he was a librarian, like, but like a doctorate in librarian studies. I don't know, but you may. I think that would, if I know college is a bit far for you, is far from the thought process right now. But yeah, I still think that would be a good. You would enjoy that as a field. You should take a bookbinding class. I get it. I get it. I get it. I get it. 100%. I get it. That is a real concern. And people, people ruin their lives by getting um, debt that they don't need because of that. Let's see. How to bind a book. I found a video. Try this one. I had a friend. Let's go with friend because that's what it was. Only that. In college, who she was very into bookbinding, so I absorbed a lot of information from it. I was kind of I don't know what it was a weird relationship. I don't know how to really define it. Yeah, it was kind of a few things. It was very intense, it was very intense, like a romantic relationship was. But I don't. It would be very disingenuous of me to categorize it as that. She's contacted me once or twice wanting to get back into touch, and I've been nervous to do that. For well, the reason why I've been nervous to do that, and I've never said this to her, is because at some point in time she ghosted me after college, because we were texting back and forth quite a lot, and then she just stopped responding to my texts, and I thought it's because I said something to really hurt her feelings. And so I just, well, we had gotten into a fight like the day beforehand, and she wasn't texting me back, and I'm like, oh, she's mad at me, and I'm like, I'm not gonna be one of these people that just keeps texting people who are ghosting me. So I just let it go, and then I didn't talk to her for years, and actually that really made me think about like the way I kind of treat people in my life, and it's been an intense sort of source of like, it was an intense like kind of sad memory in my life that I let a friendship like that fall apart. And then she just texted me and she's like, "Oh no, I just forgot. It slipped my mind to text you, and I'm sorry." I'm like, "Oh." So I kind of went 3 years of like, "Oh, I guess I ruined my friendship. Like, what type of person do I want to be? How do I fix this? How do I get better?" And then it's like, no, it just slipped her mind. So, I don't know how I feel about that. Other than it's weird. This is a person I sheltered for a bit. This is a person I had to shelter once from an abuser. So that's unfair. I would have done. No, that's shitty of me. That's really shitty of me. I did that. I would have done that no matter what. It's garbage of me. Fucking garbage of me. She doesn't owe me anything for doing that. It was an inherently good thing. It was a good thing that I did, and then I was like, then my first instinct is always to throw it. My instinct was to throw it back into somebody's face. That's just shitty of me. Okay, so it's my fault now. That was very intense. I almost my, I almost got married one time. Did I ever tell you about that, Elvis? That somebody tried to pressure me into marriage one time. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I have terrible intrusive thoughts that plague me at all times of my life. In fact, like that's the defining problem of my life is that I have horrible intrusive thoughts. Um, did I ever tell you about the time I almost got married? Um, yeah, yeah, yeah. That's definitely it. You keep trying to prove, like your mind is Okay. This was the first girlfriend I ever had, or not even girlfriend. We did go out on a date though. Um, we went on one date. Um, we went on one date, and then she texted. So she's Muslim, which was obviously fine. But she sent me on Facebook this message about how a Christian Muslim wedding ceremony can happen. And then for a month, she would chat at me about how much she loved me, how much she cared about me, how much she wanted to spend the rest of her life with me. Opus, I gotta admit, I probably, if it had kept going on, I probably would have done it, just because I would have been felt pressured into it. One date. It was one date we went on. I was still in college. Listen, I know there's that old hokey cliche of guys having commitment issues, but I don't think it's that big of a deal to say, you know what, maybe not today. Maybe, like, I would say, give us a year in a relationship together. Now, the story is more complicated than that. Her parents are kind of weird and cruel, and would not let her date C guys or something outside, so she had to do this all in secret. And we did have phone conversations beforehand, but I am. She told me once that the first time she was ever alone in her house was when she was 25 years old. And that they were thinking, and yeah, and they had planned to marry her off to her cousin. Yeah. So I get why she was kind of like obsessing over me for a bit, because I represented freedom to her. Yeah, real. Shit gets real in my life pretty quickly, right? But it's funny because like my life normally, I'm so like, I come from a very boring my life is actually quite like my home situation is incredibly boring and stable, and then I just have all these for I would I have friends who are always who have yeah, it's always chaos. Maybe I'm chaos, Opus. Maybe there's a secret part of me that yeah, chooses the chaos. Can I? Maybe there's a part of me that secretly wants it, but I don't know. Because it keeps happening in my life that I seem to constantly invite that sort of thing in. So there's a possibility. I sometimes think there's a little nugget of me that likes being the hero in the situation. By the way, the girl that I probably would have married if she had badgered me just a little bit more about it, um, is in a very is in a very deeply happy relationship with a guy, and she texts my mom quite frequently still, which is very. When I try and explain that to people that my college girlfriend, sort of girlfriend, still texts my mom quite a lot, it's I have no way to I have no way to explain how that happened. I have no way to explain that. I could. There's a whole story behind why her and my mom ended up becoming quite good friends. And in a weird way, my mom is kind of her like kind of her aunt now in a strange like emotionally kind of like took the position of an aunt or something, but or a family or friend family. I don't know. It's hard to explain, but it's a whole situation. I'm secretly very grateful because she used to text me obsessively. And they still text. They still text. They just texted 2 days ago. They just texted like 2 days ago. Yeah. But she's in a very happy relationship with a guy. Secretly, I'm very glad that somebody I'm glad that somebody else took up that mantle. I've actually seen the guy. He's he's super fucking handsome. So she did really well for herself. Uh, yeah. Let's see, now I'm being very sherry. Uh, you want to hear some family drama that's been going on? I can tell you because like there's just no way my family's gonna hear about it. Okay, this is not my side, not any drama that's happening in this house, but what's happening with my cousins. So my cousin, I don't want to use his real name, Nathan. Let's call him Nathan. Him and his wife are having marital issues. Now, Nathan is a very sweet guy, very nice guy, and he's also an incredibly trusting guy. And this is a relationship that he married her initially because she said that birth control lasts for a decade. This is legitimately a thing she said. She said she took birth control. She said, "Yeah, no, oh, it lasts for 10 years." And he believed her. Yes. This guy is an accountant. He's a very well-off accountant. And he believed that birth control lasted. Yeah. So, anyways, throughout their marriage. Now, despite what you're thinking, he's the yes, sex ed is very important. I very much believe that sex ed is important. Despite that, he's actually a great dad. He's a great dad. In fact, he's kind of the one that's been taking care of the kids most of the time because his wife goes on frequent yeah, but there's going to be a sinister thing in a second. His wife goes on frequent squash trips with her gal pals. Almost every weekend she's gone to. Would you believe that's very suspicious? Yeah, it's suspicious. It's a game. It's a game. It's a sport. Have you ever played racquetball? It's not it's yeah, it's actually pretty well. Actually, squash kind of sucks and it's terrible, but racquetball is really fun, which is a lot easier. But they're similar in ideas. It's a small black ball, and you hit it against the wall. Yeah. Well, okay. So the squash thing was probably fake. She's been having an affair for a couple of years, apparently. That's what's been going on. I used to play racquetball all the time. I really liked racquetball. Yeah, totally didn't see that coming, right? Yeah. And knowing how Nathan works, probably gonna get back together with her because that's just kind of the type of guy he is. But yeah, yeah, it's shitty, right? It's just shitty. It's a shitty situation. I've met her before. I found her kind of nice, but I have this his sister, my other cousin, from that side of the family, who is one of she's one of the nicest people in the world, and in many ways she's the daughter my mom never had. Uh, um, uh, has never liked her, and I've always been suspicious about why do you like her? She seems nice, and then the whole affair thing came out, and I was like, oh, I don't like her either now. Um, to premise this also a little bit, their dad, my uncle, is quite well off. So they've had a they've there may have been somewhat of a financial incentive in kind of tricking him into marriage like that. Which I'm loath to say trick, but it kind of was. Anyways, I've been wanting to talk about that forever. Yeah. Yes. But no, wait. That's how birth control works, right? It works for 10 years. I think it was 10 years, or maybe just a year, she said. No, it was 10 years. It was 10 years. Like, yeah. Like, imagine if they had a 10-year birth control. Like, unwanted pregnancies would be down to zero. That would be like a major innovation. I don't know. It's so funny though, right? Listen, he's like the nicest guy. He's like one of the nicest guys in the world. I love that. I love that side of the family quite dearly. Um, I have yeah. I have real great affection for that side of the family, quite a lot. You know. But it's so fucking stupid, right? Good boy. Oh, but how's the manga going? I've wanted to include that in a like a sketch or something, but I've never, I've never thought of a way to include that. What's a name that you've been leaning towards? Are you gonna put it out on Webtoon? Also, leaning towards none of them yet. Should put it on Webtoon. That's probably the best place to put it. Do you read Webtoons? I forget to ask you. No offense. No offense, Opus. Not super surprising. You seem like the type who would be into it. What's your favorite Webtoon? I tried getting into Webtoon. What's your favorite? It's okay if it's weird. Yes. I'm happy, like, the thing I've always said about Webtoon is I don't really get it yet. Really, I haven't found this something I particularly love on there. Even the Batman thing they're doing is not 100% my favorite. But I kind of think in a way Webtoon saved comics. And I'm appreciative of it for, yeah. I like those sorts of things sort of saved comics in a way. And I'm appreciative of it for that. Also, there's a part of me that thinks it may be there might be an evil, oligarchical, like, thing. Yeah. Involved in it, and I'm suspicious of that. I also have this feeling like people are too happy about like brands and company things, and then like so there is something about Webtoon, and I like I think it's good that there is a centralized hub for like webcomics now, but there is something about it where it's like the fact that like one company is now trying to like take over all of webcomics is not something I'm thrilled by. Like there's an evil like oligarchical monopoly you know underpinning there that I am nervous by. If you get what I mean. Like the problem I have is that Webtoon seems to behave a lot like Disney with regards to animation. See, one thing that I've never liked about Disney is that Disney has this sense about itself, I think, from the way they behave. That Disney would very much like to own all of American animation outright and thinks it should. And it's worked very hard to like constantly buy up any animation that exists, any animation companies that exist, and fold it into themselves. And there's a little bit of that with Webtoon. Does that mean? I'm being mean. I don't mean to be mean, but I've always felt that about Webtoon, is that they have a little bit of that attitude. You can disagree with me. Feel free to disagree with me and be mean. Well, the reason that I have this is because I believe it was Smack Jeeves is where they bought it, totally kind of destroyed the code, and then or may have been Tapastic. One of the two did this, where they essentially bought Smack Jeeves and burned it to the ground. Now, Smack Jeeves, if you are too young to know what Smack Jeeves was, and honestly, it's not super worth committing to memory, was a site contained of harsh, full of villains. It was a scum of was a hive of villainy and debauchery, and most of it was like bad anime, like fan comics, but it was authentic. And in a media landscape so dominated by the slick corporatism, I praise authenticity, even if it is sort of hokey and cliche. And it was owned by one guy, so it was never going to last the way it was, because one guy can't handle a site that big. He was the only guy on it. He was the only administrator. And one of the big webcomic companies, I forget who it is, offered to buy it. And what was good about Smack Jeeves was that it was free. I believe Webtoon is free too, but whatever. Buy it and buy it to keep it going, and immediately they kind of burned it to the ground. Now, there's a lot I don't remember, and I'm a little bit sauced up at the moment, but that's my general memory. Is in the end, it was kind of considered like it kind of destroyed itself, and then it's like, oh well, we still have our website that does the same thing. And there was a suspicion on the ground. It's like, did they just buy this to fuck everybody? Did they just buy a competitor with the explicit purpose of destroying it so that they wouldn't have to deal with that? Because that's a shady corporate thing. A lot of companies will do. Anyways, that's Webtoon. But there are people on it who I believe are quite nice. I'm certain that the artists themselves are lovely people who just want to be artists in a way that makes sense, that they can make money from, and that should be supported. The problem is, if we can get like logical here, it's hard for people. What really prevents, like, I think money is like for people is that it's hard. It's easier if there's already a setup system that they're already part of handling all the money, instead of like something like, say, Patreon or PayPal or something like that, which is why I feel a little stuck to Twitch. First time ever, I'm not totally screwing up the inking. What's your favorite Webtoon? Sorry for being a negative downer. I'm like that with everything. I mean, what's Let's Play about? About Let's Players? Oh, that's cute. That's a good idea. That's a good idea for a romance story. That sounds good. Ah, do you like Markiplier? Yeah. Ah, makes sense. That's a cute idea. That's, ah, I don't get Markiplier. I don't really get him. And I mean, I do. He's kind of attractive. I get he's. I didn't get how people found him attractive, but you know, when you look at him in the right way, it's like I can get why, but it's like I don't know. I don't really get him. His brother makes a webcomic, if you don't know. That's an interest. I like that idea for. Yeah, it's not good. It's not good. Yes, there was a brother. There is a brother. But it's still it's pretty popular. I don't think it's all that good, but it appeal. He makes a living from it, so it must be good enough for that at least. Let's see, top web comic. In the old days, you would check the top webcomic list and see where it is. A lot of very horny. Yeah, it's still number one. It stays at number one quite a lot. It's called Two Kinds. Yeah, see, that's it right. This is it right here. I mean, he's been doing it for how long has he been doing this for? Oh yeah, he's still on. Let's see. No, actually, which it's weird. You would think that they started right around the same time. They just developed on their own. It's funny. He has been doing this. Holy shit! He's been doing this for 20 years. Um, which is if you can see the premise, I don't know. What I'm drawing isn't necessarily better, but I guess it's very right, yeah. Listen, he has a fan base. I don't I decry him nothing. Nothing. He has achieved success. I think he should enjoy it. But yes, that's the webcomic. I used to really like webcomics, and one of the things I really liked about webcomics was that they were very original. Like they were just kind of pure from the author's mind. And sometimes you would get maybe the worst things ever, but they would be fascinating because they were so just unique. That used to really fascinate me about webcomics. But yes, you would get the worst things ever. Not that two kinds is the worst thing. I don't know. I looked at it a little bit. I was not super impressed. It's an isekai. Not my favorite genre. Have I told you my theory that I think they're fundamentally fascist? Well, they are. Or colonialist is probably the better way to say it. It's all about some they're all Japanese teenagers going into a barbaric land and turning into Japan. And it's like, you know, the theme is always like, oh, they have no culture, until this noble Japanese every teenager comes in and fixes it and turns it into Japan. Drives me up a wall. Obviously, they're not all like that, but some of the very popular ones are. If you could get stuck in a fictional land, what would it be? Earth. The Matrix. I knew it. You also think the Matrix is real. Dun dun dun. I don't even know that answer for myself. Like, I was trying to think. A lot of the worlds I read are quite bad. Maybe like the Marvel universe. Just because it's a lot like ours, but with like super cool, super advanced technology, and you know, at least I get to like I could fly around in like an Iron Man suit, which would be like super fun. Although, like, here's the thing. We invented an Iron Man suit. Like, that's the thing that's not talked about a lot. Like, just a few years, like 5 or 6 years ago, we figured out how to do jetpacks. And nobody talks about that. Like, I can't ride it. Like, God, Sluggy Freelance is still popular. Jeez, how old is that? Yeah, like, here it is. Yeah, here's a guy using it. It's essentially like compressed air. Yeah. That you glide with your hands. It's very Iron Man like, actually. See, there's another guy using it. And you can go out for like, I've seen like videos of guys going out for like 20 minutes, and I'm like, how is that a thing? And like, that's not like, right? That's cool. And nobody talks about it. Now I'm just interested in seeing what's still popular with webcomics people, because outside of the webtoon thing, obviously, like the independent webcomic world. It's just a weird thing to say because like webcomics used to be all independent. Two Kinds, yeah, that's really popular. Kawaii, I haven't. Oh, an adult love story. Naked. Realm of Owls. I have no idea. Girl. Let's see. God, so many. Oh, Girl Genius is so low. Wow. I don't remember being really into that. Everybody's just it's all just it's the same thing it was last. Yeah. Did you ever read webcomics, like just original webcomics? I used to be quite into. There was two comics I was quite into. Order of the Stick, which was a stick figure comic, but it was a D&D like stick. It was like an epic fantasy, but done with stick figures, which I thought was very funny. Which was very funny to me. Yeah, so it's like a parody fantasy comic that's kind of turned into a real fantasy comic at this point, but it's all done with stick figures, and it works surprisingly well, and I think it's still going on, which is wild to me. I have like, because I was reading it when I was like 14. And then there's what's the other one? There was a thing called Archwood, which was okay. The three I read were Order of the Stick, Archwood, and Dr. McNinja. Archwood was kind of this vaguely philosophical comic about. Well, it was about cat. It was about like cats and stuffed animals all like interacting with each. It's weird. It's weird to explain, but it's essentially a Gag-A-Day strip, but with like a surreal, almost philosophical sort of writing. It's really great. I believe the guy had a tiny bit of a breakdown, unfortunately, recently, from what I've heard. Its main character is was a cat in a Speedo and a thong. It was a very weird comic. And then there was Dr. McNinja, which was about a doctor who's also a ninja. Which I know sounds complicated, but he's a doctor and a ninja. Also, he's Irish descendant. His passion for healing is only matched by his passion for killing. Yeah, that's what I figured. Yeah, he was going through a pretty bad divorce, which is sad. You're always worried about divorce. Yeah, so Dr. McNinja was one I really liked. And I'm happy, like, the guy who did Dr. McNinja, I'm very happy, is, like, still is just a comic book guy now. Like, he made Gwenpool, which was fun. Have you heard of Gwenpool, Opus? Did Gwenpool permeate the thing? So, did I mention Gwenpool? Okay, so Gwenpool, let's see. It's a pretty fun comic. It's a very cute comic. Anyways, he made it. That was his. So I have you seen Spider-Verse movie? This is Gwenpool. Have you seen Spider-Verse? I demand to know if you have seen the Spider-Verse. Anyways. Well, okay, so Spider-Verse... Spider-Gwen became quite popular, and that's why she was included in Spider-Verse. But anyways, they did a joke where they had every character in Spider-Man, every character in Marvel had a Gwen version. And then they did Gwenpool, which was a Gwen version of Deadpool, and the design proved to be so popular that they created she got to be her own character, which was Gwenpool, which was, and get this, it's about a girl from our universe getting transported into the Marvel universe. Why, is that an isekai? Yes, it is. Yep, there's an actual Marvel. It's pretty cute. It's pretty cute. So her superpower is that because she was an obsessive Marvel Comics reader. She knows all the secrets. She knows all of the secrets of the Marvel universe. Anyways, you'd like it. I think you'd like it.
I think you might like that one. I don't know. It's pretty cute. What do you look for in a story, Opus? Real question. I mean, these are all real questions, but it also has a spin off with her pet, which I know. What? She has a pet that got her own spin off? Well, this is her pet. This is Jeff the land shark. Now, land sharks are somewhat reoccurring thing in the Marvel universe, and this is a baby land shark. Uh, pretty. It's kind of. Yes, he is possibly the cutest creature in the world. Um, there's another one. They gave him he has his own comic. It's web, but it's very very adorable, and I like it's a very sweet comic. I made a video for him on my second YouTube channel that I have not updated in a long time, and I probably should. About Jeff the Land Shark that got like 20,000 views, so I've always been very, that little guy. What was like the last story you heard, like before you saw it or read it or whatever, that you heard about it and he's just like, oh, that sounds really cool? Like, what was the last one? Like, last story that you heard? Like, like, what was the last thing that you heard that you said, oh, that sounds cool? Like, before you even saw it. Like, what's the thing that you're excited? Listen, Opus, you're my young friend. You're the one who I try and learn about what young people are interested in from. Purple Hearts. Is that like a military movie? Riding. I have not heard of that. Oh, that's cute. That's cute. Would you say you like love stories? I was just gonna post something in the comics thing, and I was like, I don't know, that's what I was just curious though. Like, what makes you interested? So that's good to know. Oh God, did you watch the Gotham Knights show? I had it out for that show. The second I heard about it, I was so irritated by it. Yeah. Well, that's always the hard part about movies. Is like, it's blue. It's blue. No, it's blue. There's this. I was reading about this one movie that came out. It was with one of the Sprouse twins. And the plot starts off. When I say reading, I saw a YouTube video. Starts off, and it's about this girl, and her father was a card cheat in Las Vegas, and he taught her how to be a card cheat. And the premise is that she gets away from him and she wants a normal life outside of card cheating, and she goes to like a normal college. And just at the start of that, I'm like, wow, that's such a fun idea. Like, it's about like a college, like a college age like card cheat, like poker cheat. Like I could imagine all sorts of like fun shenanigans that you could do with that. And then it becomes about a romance with her and like this shitty dude, and the card cheating part was forgot about, and I'm like, and I don't know the point I'm trying to make other than a college set Card Shark movie would be a fun idea, and they should do that, and they should have just done that. So that's what I was thinking about, like mental images. It's like you have this idea in your head about like what a fun movie could be, and then like they just don't do that. Partly because I think Hollywood is very boring in a lot of ways. Wouldn't that be fun though? Like a movie about like a college girl who's like a card shark? I think that would be a fun idea for a movie. Love a good card. Like I love good card. I love a good like movie about card games and stuff. They're fascinating things. Like poker movies are always kind of fun, and card cheating is super fun. Because I should write a screenplay about that. What do you think the plot would be? I mean, the obvious plot would be college turns out to be much more expensive than she thought it was, and she uses the one skill in her life she knows by starting to scam people out of cards. Yes, that's the obvious one. She should also eventually, I guess, meet a romantic partner. But I would want it to be nice, not shitty. Listen, with these types of movies, the plot eventually becomes, yeah. with like Card Shark movies, the plot eventually becomes like she starts cheating her way through things, but she should eventually come up to a fellow shark, like yeah, like eventually the plot it should become that she meets a fellow shark, like somebody who's also versed in the art of card cheating, and then it becomes like kind of a battle of wills. Like the idea is eventually it's like to see who can outsmart each other, because it's like you're playing the game, but you're playing a game on top of that, and then you kind of contrast like the high intensity, like high intensity stakes of Card Sharks with like the normal everyday of like trying to fit into a new social situation of college, something like that, right? Not not a terrible idea. Wouldn't be a terrible idea for a screenplay. Have you ever watched like heist movies, Opus? Do you know these types of movies that I'm talking about? They're bigger over in Japan. Japan has a very obsessive culture about, like in Asia has a very obsessive culture about like gambling and stuff. Like there's a whole, like there's tons of like stuff going back about gambling, but it's prevalent in the U.S. too. I don't know. I spent like a good deal of last year trying to learn how to cheat at cards. I wasn't going to actually cheat at cards. I wanted to do a movie about it. I wanted to like learn about it to see if I could like do like a movie about it or something. So card like it's all about like the easiest trick is is knowing how to stack the deck, and that requires you being like the dealer and like essentially like stacking the deck in your face, like memorizing it, and then like there's ways to like memorize how where the cards go, and then you sort of like, and then you stack the deck, in your favor. But there's other ways of doing it. Like there's like the classic one is you have like a card in your you have a card in your like wrist or something, like in your sleeve, and you just quickly change it out. But that would be fun, right? A new adult book about that, instead of like, do you ever like? Okay, I get very concerned for young people about the type of books people read at times. Like, I've seen like so many like stories where like the book is girl is like young and virginal and doesn't know a lot about the world, and then like the guy is like the worst piece of shit in the world, like he's legitimately like actually abusive to her, and like that's supposed to be the romantic interest, like love interest, like he's the one we're supposed to want her to get with. Like, do you know what I'm talking about? Like, this seems to pop up more than once. Am I inadvertently like coming down on things you like? I don't mean to do that. I'm just makes me, I don't know. I like romantic comedy. I like romantic comedies. I do. I spent a year writing one, so it's like they're on my mind now. I like it. I like it when it's two characters who are on equal footing, like who have a lot of chemistry with each other. Exchanging witty dialogue and having fun and having a good time. I think that's really fun to watch, and it's if you can nail that in a movie, it's really kind of amazing. I'm quite disturbed that like the stories are now guy is worst person in the world, but that's the one we want. One of my favorite movies is It Happened One Night, which is a very old romantic comedy about two people on a road trip. Anyway, sorry for. I don't mean to be morally judgy, although I frequently am. Don't judge. Don't judge. It's bad to judge. What's the worst thing you've read lately? Is there something you've read or watched or seen that really just infuriated you? Because I'm curious. Morals. It's so weird. The problem is, it's like, I don't know. I was thinking about this recently. Somebody argued to me that there's a manga out there called Shield Hero. And there was an argument put forward. And in the manga, the main hero, this is horrible and bad, buys slaves frequently and keeps them as slaves. And somebody argued to me, well, they agree to be slaves, so it's not so bad. And I'm like, yeah, it's not. That's not really the story. That's not really the issue. Yeah. Like, one, we can look at it from a writer's stance that the writer seemingly went out of his way to include slavery in a story that didn't need to have it, and justify why it's okay. And you can be negative on that context. But two, it still is not right to own people. That should be basic. There were some slaves who were very happy where they were, but it still didn't. It doesn't justify the institution. Like, it doesn't justify at all the institution. That infuriated me. Don't like slavery. Really don't like slavery. That shouldn't be that controversial of an opinion, but at times, weirdly, it seems to be. So what was the thing that... What's like... Just in general, what piece of media did you consume that like irritated you, you hated the most? Don't other things I don't like genocide, don't like fascism.
I know all of these things seem basic as shit, but it's. We have entered a weird. Yeah. I know, Opus, you are a very nice and sweet person. I'm curious what makes you mad. What what thing you saw made you mad? I'm very curious by that. What was it? Well, okay, there it is. Sometimes I feel when I ink it, it loses a little bit of its luster. I don't know how to fix that yet. I figure it'll come with more inking. By Danielle Steele. That is a name I haven't heard in a long time. That is a name. Really? Well, that sounds boring as shit. I was reading. Oh, that's great. It's the Japanese guy that also did that. I was reading. Sometimes you read about people like in like the Holocaust and stuff. Not to get too dark, and you're like, oh right, there's good people. Like I was just reading about this guy, Raul. Why can I say it? It's an easy name to say. Raul Wahlberg, who saved thousands of Jewish lives in German-occupied Hungary. The way he did it, he was a diplomat for Sweden, and he declared he declared thousands of Jewish people who were in the embassy like Swedish citizens, or gave them, and he got them safely to Sweden. Like, it's like, that is beautiful. And then I remember there's a similar story of another guy who did something like that. This guy, Chinua. Oh God, it's a Japanese name. Chinua Shigira, who he was the vice consul in he was in Lithuania, and he did a very similar thing in that he helped
he issued thousands of Jewish people visas to Japan so that they could escape the Nazis and the Holocaust. And you're like, isn't that great? Like, doesn't that make you happy to hear? I know Holocaust bad, but yeah. You know, it's just these guys. It's just these guys. Like, they were like, most of these guys were like passport officials, and in that second, they acted and saved just so many lives by just letting people in. And you think to yourself, you know, I think about Mengele a lot, Joseph Mengele. He was the head, not the head. He was the second in charge of the medical of Auschwitz, and Mengele, like his son, Joseph Mengele's son, like Mengele famously escaped like Nuremberg, and he was like one of the most wanted men in the world for years, but he was hiding out in South America. And his son, who he was also his family, the Mengeles are a very rich family in Germany, which is part of the reason why he disappeared for so long. And Mengele is like infamous for like just being like this monster of a person, but in a very boring and cold way. It's complicated to go into exactly what he did, but he was a monster, and they had been after him for years, and finally like he was never caught. He did drown though, but he was never caught, unfortunately. His son found him at some point though, and he never knew his father, and he was actually very like anti-Nazi and all this stuff, and he had a discussion once with him, and he said that he asked him about it, and he said, well, you know, it was just orders. They would have killed. They would have been killed anyway. So I just did it. It didn't matter. And I'm like, you know, there are guys out there who, against the express orders of their superiors at life and liberty, risk themselves to save a bunch of people. And it's like, and then there are people out there who are just like, well, they were going to die anyway, so what matters? It's like, it's right. You just think to yourself, it's like, there are people out there who are like heroes because they fought against and used everything in their power to like save people. And Mengele was the second in charge, pretty much. He was like the chief medical officer, pretty much, of Auschwitz. If he really wanted to help people, if he really thought he could help people, he could have. There are so many things he could have done to help, and he didn't. He didn't help people because he didn't want to help people. And, you know, we never caught him, unfortunately, but he did drown. So that's something. You know, people outside of Twitch, also inside of Twitch, point out that I'm very obsessed with Hitler. I don't mean to be obsessed with Hitler, but when you're interested in history and you're interested in like 20th century history, you have to kind of be interested in Hitler because, like, literally so many things, like, almost the whole modern world for, like, the past, since the end of World War II, has been in some way about trying to counteract the rise of another Hitler. Like, so much of what we did is about, like, not letting something like Nazism exist again. So it's like you kind of have to like know about him because he's vitally important to understand pretty much every single like political trend in the Western world and the Eastern world for like the past like 50, 60 years. So yes, we're probably going to have to keep talking about Hitler, and we're probably going to have to keep talking about Hitler till the end of the world. Unfortunately. Listen, nobody's come along and beat Hitler yet at being Hitler and causing so much devastation. Several people have tried. But I'm not really seeing anybody go like okay. I didn't totally ruin this inking. Which makes me happy. Do you have something you want me to draw? I want to draw something for you. I'd be up for drawing stuff for people. Like, you know, the problem with history is, unfortunately, history is not really there is not always there to teach us inspiring lessons. Sometimes it's just there because shit happens, and we have to learn about all the bad stuff that happens. You know, like, one of Hitler, not to talk too much about Hitler, but Hitler, when he was younger, was going to kill himself at one point, and a good friend of his talked him out of it. And it's like, yeah, that's a good yeah, it's like that would be a great thing for anybody to do, but it did mean that Hitler came into existence. And it's like sometimes being a good person just screws you over in the end, doesn't it? Have you been following the Sam Bankman-Fried stuff? Oh. Sorry if I'm talking too much. Let's give it a minute more. Let's let this all dry out. Opus, do you know who Sam Bankman-Fried is? Are you also tired? Is this late at night for you? I have plenty of energy. I could go all day. I'm alright. I wish it was my job. I guess this is technically my job. It's the thing that pays me money. I'll draw something new. I want to make sure this is all dry first. One thing this is just a random thing I drew. It's no real character. I mean, it could be a character. Sam Bankman-Fried, SBF. Yeah. Have you heard of the FTX thing? It's the biggest scam of all time. It's like the biggest fraud since Bernie Madoff. He's real fucking prick of a person. Real prick. He's back in prison right now. Because he anyways. Yeah, well, if you don't know, it's maybe slightly too boring. So he was running a thing called FTX, which is essentially like, okay, so like there's things like which was essentially a bank, but for crypto, and it was the biggest. Oh, why don't I do this? People can see stuff easier. Yay. The crypto bank. Anyways, he was kind of using funds from that to fund his another firm where he traded crypto, and all the trades he made of crypto were really bad. Anyways, he's very probably going to prison, and he is in prison right now, but he's probably going to stay in prison for a long time. And the funny story is that both of his parents are ethicists. Like, that's legitimately their job, is to be ethicists, and his dad particularly is a financial ethicist. So, yeah. His dad is all his what his dad does is study like how to be ethically financial. Anyways, people say I look like him. Although part of the reason I cut my hair was so that people would stop saying I look like him. Yeah, right? Anyways. He's probably, I don't know. He essentially stole like almost trillions of dollars from from people that like people had money. Essentially, people put money in this bank, and then he stole the. Then he used their money to use the money to invest in things, and that's very illegal to do. You're not allowed to. You're not allowed to take money from one company and use it for another company. Very, very illegal to do. Anyways. He's so fucking annoying, and I hate him so much. And part of the reason he's really fucking annoying is that he's one of these, you know. Do you know, Opus, the phenomenon of the former gifted kid? Where, kids were, I'm a little bit like this. Where like there's all these kids who were like fretted over as being super smart and so intelligent, and they were going to do all this stuff, and then that nothing happened with that, and now they're all depressed because like all the things they thought and what their life would be never turned out. Well, Bankman-Fried is sort of that, but he succeeded, and he like the way people talked about him. Trust me, I know. I'm one of those. The way people talked about him is like, it's like that phase though never ended for him, because they all talked about like forever. Like, yeah, exactly. Well, it's like that part of his life never ended where they like constantly fretted over him being like this genius gifted kid at all times.
even when he was like fucking things up, and like even till this day, like people are like, oh, he was so smart, how could that happen? And people point out that he wasn't really that smart. He was like a kind of a weird prick who would hurt, who kind of just would, he's smart. There are people out there who like really want to appear smart, so they'll use like big, like throw a lot of words and concepts at you really fast to try and like make you seem intelligent, like to confuse you, and it's like, and you go like, well, I guess they have to be smart, Opus, because they use a lot of big words and concepts at you really fast, and they understand it, but I don't. So what, that's whatever that means. And of course, all it means is that, real intelligence. You can explain complicated ideas simply to people. That's usually a sign of intelligence. Is being able to like sit down and explain that. Anyways, I found it very funny lately that apparently, like me, Sam Bankman-Fried is on tried to start a Substack. Is on Substack at the moment. The greatest financial criminal of our time is on Substack. He wasn't for a very long time. He was out on bail. His parents are very rich. No, he isn't now. The reason why he's in jail is because he did a very prickish thing, and he leaked his ex-girlfriend's diary to the press. He was on bail for quite a while, and he could do stuff like that. But isn't it funny? Like, he's being investigated for like major financial crimes, and he like started a blog. Like he started up Substack. So a thing he would do, like, okay, so the thing about his ex-girlfriend, Carolyn something, I forget her name. Carolyn is okay, so this all has to do with two companies, FTX and Alameda Research. Alameda Research was an investment company that would invest with major corporate that would invest trade cryptocurrencies to try and make money. And FTX was a bank. Now, on paper, these were two separate companies. And it would be very illegal for Sam Bankman-Fried to do a thing where he would take money from one company and put it into another. But because Alameda was losing money hand over fist, that's what he was doing. Now, technically, and this is where the creepy part comes in, this is the kind of weird abusory side of SBF. He was he had used his he had put his girlfriend in charge of Alameda, and apparently this is the thing I was learning about was that's kind of his thing. Well, Opus, it's illegal to invest in things. Use other people's monies to invest in things they aren't aware of. That is very illegal to do. When you are investing other people's money, they need to be aware that you will be investing in certain things. What type of things you will be investing in. So, like, these people were not investing in Alameda. They were storing their money and there's a lot of very specific rules for banks and bank accounts and stuff like that, and the government is essentially arguing that's what FTX was. Now, What was I saying? So apparently he was going to do this again, where he was going to try and like. Apparently, what one of his like habits is he'll get a girl. There'll be a girl who's this girl was obsessed with him, and he'll get his girlfriends and he'll put them in charge of his illegal companies because he was going to try this again. Was the big revelation that just came out recently that he was going to try something like this again with a new girl that he was seeing. And predict right. So out of all the things, it turns out like this is like a thing of his abuse, which is making his girlfriends like be partial to like huge financial crimes. Which is like, isn't that actually an abuser thing? Like, isn't that a standard abuser thing? And like they'll make them commit crimes or something like. Well, that's like a cult thing that they do. Is like they'll try and have you do something illegal, so you're like anyway. Yeah, so it's like, but like on massive scales, it turns out massive scale. So Sam Bankman-Fried is a piece of shit, and we sort of look alike, and I get a lot of comments about me looking like Sam Bankman-Fried, so I think I'm better looking than Sam Bankman-Fried, if I can be so vain. But so I will be forced forever in my life to hear news of SBF. I have a fascination with like financial crime, anyways. Oh God, yeah. I wish. Like, yeah, but it's like for a lame crime. It's like if he was like a bank robber or something, like like a bank robber, a cat burglar. That would be kind of cool. People mistaken me for like a cool listen, as long as the bank robber doesn't kill anybody, everybody's fine with that. But bank robbery is in many ways is in a lot of ways a victimless crime. Like, this is what he looks like. See, you can see it kind of in this picture, right? Like, especially when my hair is longer, longer and curlier like his. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, God. Do you know how many followers this channel would get if I robbed a bank? Yeah, it's because of it. I mean, we both probably have somewhat similar ruse. I bet if you look through it, I bet we both have like heavy I bet he has like Czechoslovakian ancestry like I do. So there's probably like an element of that. But yeah, it's the hair. It's definitely the hair. Why I've been keeping it short since he became popular is because I'm tired of that fucking comparison. You probably need to get a cut pretty soon. There's a part of me that also thinks a little bit like nobody in the world is more perfect to write his life story, like write a movie about Sam Bankman-Fried than me. Like, because I know quite a lot about the stuff he was doing. I have a fascination with financial crime. I follow it quite a lot. I also read like financial news stuff all the time, so I know all the stuff he had been doing. I know a lot of the players in this. And I don't know, there's a part of me that thinks that I should like do be the one in charge of his thing. Like I should like eventually write the movie about him, his life that will be made. See, one of the worst things about Sam Bankman-Fried, if I could just go on, is that he always tried to present himself as like a good billionaire. Like he's just the kindest guy in the world. He gives so much money to charity. The types of charities he gives to were not really that looked into, and they were all kind of sleazy and shitty. But you know, he's a genius. That's the thing. It's like they're all shocked that a kid whose like parents were at Stanford, who are Stanford professors. I mean, it is kind of funny. It is kind of funny and ironic that his parents are ethicists. Like the parents of the guy who committed one of the biggest financial crimes of all time are ethicists, with one guy especially being like a financial ethicist. It is funny about that. Both of his parents are ethicists. His mother is essentially a philosopher, and his dad is like a financial researcher, an ethicist, and a financial lawyer. A lawyer, specifically, he's a lawyer specializing in financial fraud. Which is very funny. Which is very, very funny. You're not getting tired, are you? For some reason, I got plenty of energy. I might take a break in a minute or two. Up late are we? Oh, wonderful. It is funny. Like, I don't know who I think only like the really cool people would come around at 2 o'clock on a Wednesday. What's your favorite video game, Opus? While you think of that, I'm gonna bather on about him for just a second more. It's funny because it's like, because of that. I mean, it's something I'm already sort of interested in, is this stuff. Like, I read a lot about like how financial crimes and stuff were committed. Maybe I should have been like an investigator for the. Oh no, that would require me getting an accounting degree, and I don't think I could handle that. The SEC. The SEC, by the way, Securities SEC is maybe the single most frustrating administration that's out there, I think. Just because it's like, no, it's S. I mean, is that the one you have put the most time into? That also seems like something you would be into. Sorry for stereotyping you, but it does seem like a type of game you would be like, start. Oh my god.
I didn't realize this. Me and Sam Bankman-Fried were the exact same age. Me and him were born in the same year. We're literally the same age. Listen, Sam. Listen. You may have made $1 billion and then... God, that is a game I have not heard about in a long time. Really? Wow, that is an old one. That's cool. For the Xbox? That's so cool. That's so cool. I just that's not something I've heard of in a long time, and the fact that nobody would pick that, and that's so great. It's it is. That's a unique you choice, and I love it. Sam Bankman-Fried. Read his Substack. I found his Substack. Let's see.
What kind of magic do you do? I'm not a wizard, my good man. I'm somebody's weird uncle. Oh, no.
No, I'm just trying. Trying to make him look stylish. It's an instinct I have. I don't want him to look stylish. I want him to look like the dork that he is. But welcome back. Welcome back. What were we talking about? Viva Pinata? There's a part of me that still wants to moan about Sam Bankman-Fried, but I don't have anything else to say about him. Oh, it is? Okay. I made him too look. I'm trying to draw him, but he looks too good. You know, you tend to practice on like good-looking people, and then it's like, you know, I saw a video yesterday about like Estonia and like all the advancements that the Estonians are making, and I'm pretty. As of right now, I'm pretty up on Estonia, I have to say. Estonia? Positive about you. I was just saying, that's such an interesting choice of Viva Pinata for your favorite game. I was thinking recently. I think I would have looked. I think I would have looked much better. I think I could really pull off like a 70s look. Recently. Yeah. Well, that's good. You like the chill. I'm guessing you'd be a big fan of like the comfy game genre. They're pretty great. There's this guy I follow on YouTube. Yeah. No, I get it. That's a legitimate part of entertainment is de-stress. I mean, there's also, you know, like I personally, like my opinions are like that entertainment should serve a wide swath of people's interests, and
there are people out there who really like you, Opus, who really want to be de-stressed, and then there are people out there who want to like have more tense adventures, and I think it's good to have both, not one or the other, as like so many people try and argue. But what was I saying? Um, I think the cozy game genre is a pretty good genre. That's my general impression. I was following. There's this YouTube series I liked quite a lot, and it was this guy. He was building. He was trying to build a cozy space game. Where it's about. It's a Stardew. It's like Stardew Valley, but you're running a spaceship. And I thought that was. He hasn't released it yet, but because he's busy and he had to have a child. He had to have 2 children, and that distracted him from making his video games. How dare he, right? I was gonna suggest, let's see. But I thought that was a really cool idea. I kind of like management games, ultimately, I think is what I really like. Spiritfarer, that's the one I was going to recommend. I don't know. Have you played Spiritfarer? Yeah, doesn't it? That sounds like a lot of fun. It's very awkward that I was watching a video about Germany, about like the rise of Hitler, which as I'm essentially, in many ways, Opus, in many ways, I think this needs to be obvious at this point. In many ways, I'm kind of a dad. And one of the thing dads I'm a guy who's essentially I have many of the same interests as as dads, but I don't have any children. So I'm interested in World War II. I'm interested in boats. I'm interested in like I'm interested in like the financial markets. I like I like games that are very task oriented. Uh, Look it up. Look, we could watch it. It's a very, I think you would. It's right. It's something right up your alley. Spear. Let's see.
I'm not muted anymore. There we go. Yeah, I thought this was a game right up your alley. It looked very much a thing you would enjoy. It's called Spiritfarer. It gets quite sad. I should warn you. I'm failing to draw Sam Bankman-Fried right. There it is. And it's all hand animate. Oh, shoot. It's all hand animated, by the way. Like, it's all, like, hand-drawn 2D animation, so... Yeah, it's magic. It's magic. I think I would have done very well in the disco age. I'm just going to say that now. Let's see. I'm just going to check my email. See if I've got any response from those guys. Nope. I haven't. Turn low power mode off. The only thing that Turn low power mode off. On. Boop. Um. Wait. Have you been saying stuff? I was just looking at something. When I was, have you ever heard of the Enron scandal? I had a friend whose father worked at Enron when that happened. Oh, Enron. Enron is a similar thing in that it was a financial. It was another one of these things where they were essentially lying about what they were making. They were hiding. They had lost a bunch of money, but they were moving the books around to make it seem like they had gained. They were still quite profitable. Anyways, it was considered when it happened to be the biggest fraud in American history. That got beaten several times in intervening years, but I had a friend whose dad worked at Enron. Would he consider me a friend? Probably, yeah. We were on a baseball team together. Sorry for talking about boring stuff. I should do a project. I just had a thought process for like articles. An article or maybe a video. Okay, Opus. I just had a really fun idea. I just had a fun idea for something. You want to hear it? It'll blow your mind. I don't know if it'll blow people's mind, but I'll have fun. Okay, I want to do. It's like, is there anything you want to know about Opus? Like, is there any subject that you're curious of? I'll research it and then come back to you about it. Maybe. We'll see. Well, that's kind of the idea. That's kind of the idea. If you give me like a historical or like, if you give me like a concept, I'll look into it and then I'll write an article about it. Maybe. We'll see. If it's something too complicated, I won't do it. About string theory? You want to learn about string theory? I will research what string theory is. I know kind of the basics of it, but I don't know everything about it. So, from my very basic understanding of string theory is that there is. I'll do it. I'll write an article on string theory and try and figure out kind of what it means and explain it in layman's terms. So the basic, I heard a physicist, not a physicist, no, it's a physicist, say it once, talk about string theory. And basically he said that, okay, so, and it's infinitely more complicated than this, I'm aware, but it's like, so, you got the atom, and then you got the neutron surrounded by an electron, right? And that's the furthest we've gone down. But the theory is that the question is basically what's next? What's contained within the neutron and the electron? My very basic understanding of string theory, the thought process is it might be a type of string that vibrates, and that's what it's a small string that kind of vibrates, and that's kind of what all things are. Now that is what I remember from a physicist explaining it to me when I was like 13. The basic idea of string theory. But I'm gonna read about it. I'm gonna watch a ton of videos about it, and I'll come with a much more concrete answer. Why string theory? I'm curious. Yeah. Well, it is complicated. Oh yeah, my favorite YouTube channel has a primer on it. Aha.
Oh, that sucks. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Hmm. For what?
Um, do you want kind of like a goofy, like sort of half, like kind of a more pulpy name, or do you want like a more realistic one? Manga Boy. Let's see. Uh, Names I've wanted to use. Plantagenet. Uh, Nathaniel Styles. Dragon. Dagon. Uh, Sales. Oh, Nathaniel Sales. Uh, Dark Star. Um, Dresden. Sinus. Oh, Nathaniel Sinus. 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 Dresden. August. Westlake. What type of character is he?
Ooh. Is there any better? Aurelius? Aurelian? Nathaniel Aurelian? Nathaniel Germanicus? Nathaniel, Darkstar? Nathaniel, Theophania? Anatolia. Dragon. Romanov. Stop me if you hear one. Like, I could. Cicero. That'd be funny. There's hey, if you want to get smart points, I believe is it Cicero? No, not Cicero. Roman triumvirate. One second. Roman triumvirate. No, I mixed him up with somebody else. There's three guys. First triumvirate. Caracas. Yeah, it was Caracas. Crassus. So Crassus was in Rome. During the fall of the Roman Empire, there was Roman Republic. Three men kind of took it over and turned it into a and what they call the first triumvirate. And it was Julius Caesar, it was Caesar, Pompey, and a guy named Crassus or Caracas. I always forget. It's Saras. We're not Crassus. And Crassus was the richest man in Rome, and one of the ways he got really rich was he would light fires to places and he essentially ran a fire department in Rome, but you would have to sell him your place if it was lit on fire. Lit on fire. So in many ways he's one of the first firemen, but he was also kind of a monster. But that's also if you couldn't afford to, that was a thing for a long time. If you couldn't afford to pay firemen, they wouldn't put out the fire. Like that before, like firemen were in the public square. Like that was, you would have to pay them to like turn your fire off. So anyways, so Crassus, you could go with Crassus if you want to be real like clever. Right? Pretty awful. Like, and you're like, oh, when did this end? Not till like the 19... Yeah. Let's see. Tiberius. It needs to be a D name.
Golden Boy Crassus, yeah. Let's see. D last names. Disney? You should name him Disney. It's a last name. He doesn't own that name. You can name it. You can name a character Disney. There are people out there who have that name. Let's see. Downey Dolan DeWitt. Oh, that's the name of my. That's the name of my character. That's the last name of my character, Oliver DeWitt. It's a good name. I just liked the name, but I found out it was also the name of a prime minister in the Netherlands who was cannibalized by his people. I have fun little facts for everything. Diamond. Is that too on the nose? Darling. Dukes. Oh, Draper. Don Draper. Dillard. Dang. Donovan. DeJesus. DeJesus. Dawson. Dominguez. Dune. Dixon. Davis. I always like. Yeah. Let's see. Royal houses. Yeah, that start with D. Royal houses. Let's see. Looking at noble houses is usually good to find some fun names. Let's see. Nothing good in England. But let's see. Nordic countries. House of... Oh. Where's he supposed to be from? France. Ooh, France usually has a good one. Alright, Asia. Yeah. No thoughts on his origin? How about Fox? Frankenstein? DeWitt? Delrova? Let's see. Not a lot of D names. That's strange. Does it have to be D? The House of Delrova. Oh, yeah. Could go with Delrova. I think that just means of Rova, if I'm not mistaken. For reasons. Yeah. Let's see. There's Delrova, Del Tora. Let's see. Well, I believe Del is just like the or of, right? It's one of those like So, Dilla. You could go Della Rosa. Oh, okay. Okay, I get it. Okay. You could go Del Rosa. Uh, yeah, one of my tricks coming up with names is I just look at I look at like royal houses and just see what there is to offer. Because usually they have kind of fun names. Mm. Dakota could be one. Dale. Dahlia. Dallas. Dalton. A lot of Daltons. Damien. With a K. Divine. Detroit. Duggan. Dash. It's a name. People go by that name. This means French. It means the friends. Or the people. And Lakota. Yeah, no problem. I like coming up with fun names. That's one of my favorite little things to do for the newsletter is to come up with names for the writers. I claim write it. I mean, the writers at 100% write it. I'm certainly not writing all of them myself.
Let's see. I came up with a really fun one yesterday. I just let's see. Billy Jack Terwilliger, Cricket Kent, Spencer Darkman, Baron Corbin, Maximilian St. Clair, Jim Hedwig. You know. Drozdon. Ray Mysterious. That just appeals to me. Do you have a last name for Coda yet? Coda. Which is actually a variation of the name Dakota. Yeah. There's this game called The Beginner's Guide. About you know, Dakota means in Lakotan is it means the friend or the friends is what it means. Can also translate, I think, into the people. I thought that was really quite beautiful. It's actually, from my understanding, Lakota and the tribes that lived here in Texas, or the nations that lived here in Texas, were in Texas, are pretty linguistically similar. So much so that Texas, which means the Tejas, also translates into is the same word essentially for, and it also means the friends or the friends. I thought that was quite nice. I always like pronouncing it Tejas. The Tejas. Just yeah. Just to kind of not annoy, but like be specific. What is there to talk about? Sometimes I feel like I run out. I mean, we've been talking for about 3 hours straight, so whatever. Keep going until the energy is sucked out of me. Totally. I don't know why. I feel like I still have energy to go. Did you ever watch that video I sent you about the first black / native or indigenous? Yeah. I am happy about that. Pilot, did you ever watch that video I sent you? It's a good video. It's also a very I like the channel that does stuff. Watcher, they have that series Puppet History. You know, the only thing I have a complaint about with that series is that, you know, sometimes I watch things on YouTube and I'm like, this would be perfect for kids, and then they start cursing and I'm like, I can't show this to kids. And I don't really mind the cursing, but every once in a while I'm like, oh, a kid would really like this show, but you can't show it to him because they curse too much.
And I legitimately don't think like the cursing was all that necessary, but you know, what are you gonna do? Because I hate. I don't know if I've talked this before, but I hate the content that kids watch on YouTube. I think it is low quality. I think it is trash for the most part. It's the people who do it are hyper scummy, are like hyper scum shitheads who like are just in it to exploit, like pump money from kids into their wallets, and it makes me very depressed whenever I see it. It is like all the excesses of like garbage entertainment for like that was like in the 80s, but now in real life, and it just makes me mad, Opus. It just makes me mad, and I hate that people do that to kids, and because it's all like, you know, it's all like, ah. Well, a lot of it is like this really like this bad like, you know, like, well, what I hate, one thing I particularly hate about it is it's like a lot of it is like, look at all this rich stuff I bought with all my money. Isn't that awesome how rich I am? Look how rich we are. Loud noises. Look at all the money. Yeah, we got all the money. Look how rich we are. And I hate that shit is being peddled to kids. I don't want kids to like dream about being millionaires, like billionaires. I want them to dream about like being like astronauts or something, or like superheroes, or like you know, I want them to want to like do cool things. I don't want them to just want to be rich. Just wanting to be rich is like the most morally, like the most bankrupt thing, I think, to aspire to. Okay. Opus, thank you so much for stopping by. I don't got the energy to do this anymore. I'm dead. I just, Opus, I just want to say. I just want to say something. I'm really happy that I really appreciate that you stopped by, and I'm happy that I know you, because I think you're a very good person, and it's good to know good people. Okay. That's just what I want to say. Okay. and it makes me happy to talk to you. Okay. Okay, bye. Have a good day.